This is Carlin on 98.7 ESPN.
Yes, it is, my friends. Carlin on this Monday, 98.7 ESPN, 800-919-3776, 800-919-ESPN. Joe Judge has made his first major mistake as Giants head coach. In just a bit, we'll get to Daniel Jones and why it doesn't necessarily deserve a lot of applause for going out there and playing yesterday. And we will discuss Andrew Thomas and his development, and also just frankly why you need to just trust me and listen to me and understand that I'm smart. I get it. It will benefit you in the long run. 800-919-3776. You can tweet us as well on Twitter at Chris Carlin. I have major problems with Joe Judge from yesterday, and I know this has been a theme all day long, but it truly bears repeating. When Joe Judge told the Fox crew before the game and during their production meeting, they put Daniel Jones through the ringer last week, and everything came out A-OK, and they were that confident in how he looked. Exactly what did that ringer look like? Did you hit him with a pillow? Because I don't know how you could look at Daniel Jones yesterday and confidently say he was ready to play football on a high level and win a game for you. I don't know how you can do that. Daniel Jones was a mannequin in the backfield, a sitting duck, and it's remarkable to me that in that situation, the head coach would let him play. And frankly, more than anything, it reeked of desperation. And I get it. I understand. You know, we were sitting here last week giddy about the fact that the Giants went on the road and knocked off the Seahawks. And shame on me for getting as pumped up as I did about it. Not that the Giants aren't that good, but that not realizing that with their road that was in front of them, as difficult as it is, that the Washington football team right there with their road as easy as it is, that there weren't mistakes still to be made. I just wasn't counting on them from the head coach, and maybe I took it for granted considering how well he has really handled this entire situation all season long. Let's call this what it was. It was a horrible decision to let Jones play that football game. Horrible. And not only did you put him out there when you didn't necessarily need to, I would argue that you had a better chance to win the game, although you probably weren't going to, with Colt McCoy at quarterback. I think you had a better chance to win the game with Colt McCoy at quarterback than you did Jones. But you put him out there in a situation where he has a real chance to get himself hurt worse. And it looks like, at least it sounds like, that's a possibility. You know, when you say a player needs to be able to protect himself, what were you looking at that made you think that Daniel Jones could protect himself yesterday? He couldn't. He not once attempted to leave the pocket in any situation. It's one thing to not run RPOs because he can't go and run. Okay, I get it. It's a big part of his game, but I get it. It's another thing to just sit there and not move. He couldn't move. And it got progressively worse throughout the game. I don't know if he aggravated the injury. I don't know if the shot started wearing off, but he took a beating. He took an absolute beating. And sitting back there and not moving is not what he does to be successful. Part of his brilliance, when he is at his best, in those fleeting moments of brilliance that we have seen, has always been about his mobility. It's a chance to extend the play. And if he can't do that, why is he out there when he couldn't even step into throws? throws were off the mark left and right. Left and right. That's a time when he has to be able to protect him from himself. And so after the game, he says, we're not sure, what his situation will be, but I don't regret putting him out there. They did pull him late in the game wisely, should have been pulled sooner. And it wasn't necessarily for injury reasons. It was for performance reasons. It was the fact that the offense couldn't get a damn thing going with him out there. Offensive line was as bad as it's been in a long, long time. I'm sure Mark Colombo had a nice little smile on his face because it clearly wasn't all his fault. But I would say that when you are in such a bad position like that, and you were comfortable with what you saw from Jones based on what we saw in the game, you say after the game that you had no regrets about the decision. And then today, Joe Judge doubled down.
I'd say the way he moved in the game is what we expected. We put him through enough in practice last week to make sure he was put in a position where he could protect himself. We knew that there were things that were going to come up in the game and some limitations that he was going to have throughout the game. We're willing to live with those. But in terms of the question, do we feel like he moved the same, in practice as did in the game? I'd say the answer to that is yes, Ryan. What we expected to see, we pretty much saw.
Wow. I mean, that's an indictment right there. If that's what you expected to see, how do you justify putting him out there? He in no way gave you a better chance to win that game than Colt McCoy did. And I am by no means saying that Colt McCoy is a better player, but yesterday he was a much, 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 much better option. And now you're doubling down on it. I understand for a young head coach to not want to look like he's backing off or admitting he made a mistake or really just stepping away from a decision that was made. You have to protect the player from himself there. You talk about the player being able to protect himself. You have to protect him from himself and not have him out there. He was not ready to go. And here's the bigger problem. Now, at the very minimum, you would have been in the same situation today. With Washington winning, with you losing, if you had played McCoy. But you would have had a chance to have Jones much closer to 100% against the Browns this week, who, by the way, have Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon and can rush the quarterback. But instead now, you lost, Washington won, and now you're potentially screwed for this week. If the Giants lose the division, that decision is ultimately going to be the reason why. 8:10, abbreviated show tonight, as we know, Inside the Jets every Monday night. I was inside the Jets yesterday for a good quarter and a half. Didn't have to hang around a whole lot longer. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't hang around. I checked in. It was a check-in. It was a flip around. It was a let's hit red zone. We don't even have to get into them tonight if you want, because there's not much to get into. But there's a lot to get into on these Giants. And it starts with the head coach who made that first big mistake yesterday. 800-919-3776, 800-919-ESPN, Twitter @Chris Carlin. By all means, hit us up over there. The video live stream, as always, we take your comments there. That is up and running on ESPN 98.7's Twitter handle and, of course, on ESPN New York's Facebook page as well. I am with you, and I am happy about that. I hope you are the same. It is Carlin on 98.7 ESPN.
When in search of a gift this holiday,
you're down, Chris.
Simply
right.
Nowhere better to
Stuff, Chris.
the Johnny Walker portfolio of whiskeys. Personalize a bottle of Johnny Walker now with their custom
Look
engraving.
at this
Stop by
here.
Bottle Values in Old Bethpage, 5 Towns Wine and Liquor.
Sorry, I thought I sent you the rundown and it was on my draft the whole time.
That's okay.
Of Johnny Walker and receive complimentary customized engraving. Please drink responsibly. Johnny Walker blended Scotch whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, imported by Diageo, Norwalk, Connecticut. Must be 21 or older.
Let Pepe Auto Group make your dreams of owning a luxury vehicle a reality. Voted best luxury car buying experience by Westchester Magazine, they pride themselves on customer service and have been part of the community for over 50 years. This year, complete your holiday shopping from the comfort of your home. Visit PepeAutoGroup.com to find your dream car. During these winter sales events, get great offers, calculate your payments, trade in a vehicle, all completely online. Light up the road this holiday season. Pepe Auto Group, a name you can trust since 1968.
Hey Verizon customers, are you tired of paying all those extra taxes and fees? The average Verizon wireless customer pays over $120 a year in added taxes and fees. With Spectrum Mobile, you'll pay zero.
So Rutgers has a Friday afternoon game or a night game?
Yes, Friday afternoon
with
at
Spectrum Mobile.
4
See how much you
p.m.
could save by switching.
That's nice. You got the whole weekend off?
Not really. I got to fill in on basketball, and then I got a show Monday night, and I got a couple of bowl games next week to get ready for. But in a good way.
To someone who hears what
Another player I didn't realize was on Rutgers that I watched with the high school show, Kyle Manungai. Does he get any playing time, or is
on specials mostly right now? He probably will, next year, year after, but on specials mostly.
Call
Yes.
1-844-863-9314 any day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. or visit nyprojecthope.org to find out more.
Dealing with a dead battery? Head to Auto.
Is there a way to listen to the game on the radio in New York or no? Like in the car?
Yeah, it's on 710 WOR.
710?
Yeah.
Because I was driving home after Anita's show, and I saw on my phone that it went into overtime, and I Googled it while I was driving, but I couldn't find it for some reason.
Yeah.
The only place
It's on
to find
WOR.
proven tough Duralast battery.
Nice win, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Battery trouble,
Fun.
head to AutoZone, your battery solution and America's #1 battery destination.
Dear, it's 1908. Don't you think we should get electricity?
And stop using candles to see at night.
It's just electricity lights up the room fast. It's more reliable than candles blowing out, and people seem to love it nationwide.
Well, candles are...
Dear, did you just run into the wall?
Nope. May I have a new candle, please?
Historically, switching to new technology is a no-brainer. Today, it's AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure, and nationwide. Switch to AT&T 5G. It's not complicated. 5G requires compatible plan. May not be in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
All right, fourth down, game on the line. Uncle Louie, you run a slant past the couch. Dina, I want you to go long around the kitchen table. Break. Set. Hike.
Sure, not everything works as well from home, but seasonal scratch-offs from the New York Lottery sure do. With 4 new games and a top prize of $500,000, they're the perfect gift. You must be 18 years or older to purchase a lottery ticket. Please gift responsibly.
Back in 30.
Every castle should be properly stocked this holiday season. Napogue Castle is a premium single malt Irish whiskey, aged a minimum of 12 years in ex-bourbon barrels. It's triple distilled, one batch at a time in traditional copper pot stills. Napogue Castle Irish whiskey is smooth, with remarkable notes of peppery spice and bright fruitiness. Available at caskers.com. Use the promo code NYC12 to get $10 off. Enjoy responsibly. Imported by Castle Brands USA Corporation.
Come in, Chris.
Carlin, 98.7 ESPN, 800-919-3776, 800-919-ESPN. Open lines, we will get to them here shortly. We will also get to just in a little bit why Jones is not blameless in all of this, and the offensive line as well, and where that plays a major role in how this all played out. You also have to look at Jason Garrett. As John Pacini points out on the comment section of the video stream over on ESPN New York's Facebook page and ESPN 98.7's Twitter, the play calling of Jason Garrett was not exactly top-notch yesterday. You know, whether or not you want to argue that they didn't establish the run enough, it's harder to establish the run when you're not having much success in throwing the football at all, but it makes it all the much more difficult to understand why they would make the decision to try to play with a 3rd down and 1 and throwing the football kind of on a fade pattern deep in your own territory. I mean, that made no sense to me whatsoever. There were a lot of contributing factors to that game. Jones not only wasn't protecting himself, he wasn't protecting the ball, which is by far the biggest concern of all. And when you let somebody like Hassan Reddick, who's a good pass rusher, he had, 5 sacks going into yesterday, but certainly had not, I think it's safe to say, as of yet, become the player that the Cardinals were hoping for him to be yet when they drafted him, top 10, I think it was, a couple of years ago, top 15, that he was going to go out there and have 5 sacks yesterday. I mean, who was expecting that? Who was expecting that? I mean, he now has 17 and a half career sacks in his 4th season, and 5 of them came yesterday. 5. I mean, that was matching his season total and more than he had ever had before in a season. And how about this for a statistic? So they had 8 sacks as a whole. Think about this. Going into the game, they had 29 on the year, and they were 14th in the NFL. The Cardinals were. Middle of the pack. Middle of the pack. They are now 6th. 6th. 8 sacks in one day. Wow. Open lines, 800-919-3776. Oh, right out the gate on a Monday. Let's do it. That's right. Oh, Richard, go.
Chris, I listened to you Saturday. That was a great game. Great game. And I'll tell you, Schiano, his post-game press conference, I was in tears when he talked about the players that lost loved ones from COVID and the guy lost one. This guy, he's more than a coach. He's worth every penny the state university pays that guy because he's really worth more than.
He's done a phenomenal job this season, Richard, and the guy, I can't even tell you. And listen, I've known him for 20 years now. His caring for his players has always been there.
Conferences I've ever heard post-game.
Yeah.
I mean, it had nothing to do with the game.
And you saw him basically in tears at the end of that game because they got as physically beat up as they were, and they were emotionally beat up from the week and from the season. They played 8 straight weeks without a break against a Big Ten conference.
Chris, I just have one criticism. You called the post-game the 5th quarter show. But the game went into overtime. So you got to call it the 6th quarter show. We were on our heels listening. We wanted to see when that kid missed the field goal and when the game was secured. That was unbelievable.
You're right. My bad. I should have called it the 6th quarter show.
That's what it should be called from now on when it's in overtime.
Or the 9th quarter show. Or the 15th. We had triple overtime a few weeks ago. Should have been the 8th quarter show.
Well, maybe one day. All right, Chris, as far as Joe Judge, I said it right away. I called the Giant station last week. I said, you roll with the hot hand. I don't know how this guy's injury and that, but McCoy played good last week. Give the kid more time. Let him rest. This guy played good. He's a hot hand. Now, he made 2 mistakes. The biggest mistake wasn't putting in Jones as a starter. The biggest mistake, he wasn't prepared to take him out. That's the big. He kept him in there.
Way too long.
The guy
Richard,
rush for 1 yard.
Richard, once again, you have crystallized my thoughts. I mean, there's no doubt he should have been out of there earlier. There's no question.
Yeah, it was bad enough he started him. Now, if you're an analytics guy, as we all are in baseball, right? There's got to be an analytics that says if the young quarterback runs with his legs and is always good for 25% of his yardage on running, and he gains no yardage at all, doesn't evade the rush, and is sitting there like he was like a 38-year-old Eli Manning without Manning's 2 Super Bowls, without Manning's experience, without Manning's guile. He had nothing going for him. He had young legs that were injured. So he was terrible. He was a sitting duck. That was awful. Then I got another criticism for Judge. This was my biggest.
Go!
At the end of the 3rd period, they're down 20-7. They get the ball deep in their territory. first down on their 9-yard line, 7-yard line. First, on their own 7. First down, he throws a pass incomplete. Fine. Second down, 9-yard gain by Gallman. Nice. So we got 3rd and 1. 3rd and 1 at the 16. The most important thing that we can do now is not score a touchdown. Trust me. We got to keep the drive going. Keep the defense off the field. They were gassed. How he could not see that, I don't believe it. They were he had to shove the ball down their throat, Arizona's throat, get a nice 7-8 minute drive, make the score 20-14, hopefully. But even if you only get a field goal, 20-10, and make them have some pressure on them.
Just take over the show. You got the show. You've got the whole thing. You're saying everything I'm thinking. Just take over the show, Richard.
He throws a 35-yard pass. It was a nice.
All right, well, we don't need to go through everything, but we get the point. You're right. Thanks for the call. You're right. You can't possibly, on 3rd down and 1, throw the football in that spot. You can't do it. And frankly, it was, that's another one of those situations. Like, remember last week when Gase said that he wishes that he had called timeout? Like, that should have been a spot where if Joe Judge heard that, he should have called timeout. Or if that was something that was changed at the line, which I don't think it was, you just have to know better. And not only that, but I think it was it Slayton who cut right in front or Shepard? But they kind of ran around each other, and one of them just cut right to the line of scrimmage. Easy first down with a quick throw in, if you're going to do that. Now, let's throw a quick fade here from our own 16-yard line. 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN. It made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. One tweet. Matt checking in. Colt McCoy gives him a better chance to win every week. All right, let's not get nuts here, Matt. That's not true. I mean, we have seen the number of times where you have been in a situation with Daniel Jones where he has shown the flashes, where he has shown enough to make you believe. He certainly has shown a lot more. And Darnold showed a decent amount his rookie year. I think Jones overall, when he's been healthy, has shown more than Darnold did. And the biggest knock is, of course, the ball security, which looked like it had gone away as a problem and now is back as a problem. But I think that was all part of him actually sitting there and thinking about the injury. Like, it was in his head all day. And that's where, like, for me, I can't look at Jones and hold him blameless in this. I can't. If you hold Jones blameless in this, you're not paying attention. Jones has to put himself in the right frame of mind, and maybe it's just a maturation thing. If you're trying to go out there and help your team win, and you're going to go play while you're hurt, it's admirable. Don't get me wrong. It's quite admirable. But you also have to make sure that you're putting your team in the best position to be successful. And Daniel Jones yesterday, by going out there, put himself in front of the team, even though he thought he was doing the team a solid. He thought that he was doing the right thing by trying to play while hurt. This was injured as opposed to hurt, and it was also in his mind. And that's where the big problem comes from. If it's going to be in your mind, it's going to show on the field. And for Jones, not even wanting to move one side to another or try to shuffle around or evade the rush at all, it was in his mind all day long, and you cannot function on an NFL field that way. That is the classic example of understanding the difference between I'm going to go out there and play hurt, and if I go out there, I'm hurting my team. If Daniel Jones looked at that situation objectively, he would have known that if he went out there, he was going to be hurting his team. And I think if you asked him today, honestly, hey, listen, should you have played yesterday? And he was going to give you an honest answer, the answer would be no. And he would know that. There have been plenty of quarterbacks, plenty of players over the years that have done that. And they were wrong for doing it because it put their team in a much worse position to win the game. That just can't happen. I don't think it was an insecurity thing. Sometimes it's that. I think it was Jones, after missing a week, doing his best to help his team win. But I'm not going to applaud him for going out and playing hurt, because to me, when you put yourself out on the field, as admirable as that is, all the excuses, all the reasons why you don't play well go out the window. He's not using it as an excuse today. But if you're on the field, I don't pay attention to that. Okay? If you tell me you're good enough to go, then none of that should matter. It mattered from the get-go yesterday. And I'm not even talking about, like, the sack fumble with Golden wasn't even his fault. You know, he got drilled as that came, and he didn't have much of a chance. But look at some of those other sacks. Look at the majority of those other 7 sacks, 8 total that they had on the day. Tell me at least half of them weren't his fault, outside of the Colt McCoy ones, because he was holding the football for a long time. And they call it a coverage sack, but what really should happen when there's a coverage sack is a quarterback should be getting outside the pocket and throwing the football away so that he doesn't take a coverage sack. That's on him. 800-919-3776. If he wasn't honest with Joe Judge, with the coaching staff, with the training staff, about his ability to help the team, he hurt the team. And yesterday, by trying to play, Daniel Jones hurt the team. Open lines, we hit the calls next. 800-919-3776. Also spend some time on the Yankees and DJ LeMahieu, as they apparently are not very close right now. And the Mets have a new general manager, and there is one big takeaway I had from his press conference today, and it's not one you're going to want to hear. Carlin, 98.7 ESPN.
The Season of Inspiration sales event.
You're down, Chris. You have a live read coming up. Let me know if you need a little more time.
Town, don't miss special year-end offers like available 0.9% APR financing for 63 months and no payments for 90 days on over 500 new in-stock vehicles, including the luxurious 7-passenger.
All right, coming up in 10.
The X9, now at Open Road Mazda of East Brunswick on Route 18 and Open Road Mazda of Morristown on Ridgedale Ave. Click, shop, we deliver at openroadmazda.com. Call 877-782-1386 for details.
The NFL is winding down. College basketball is back. Carlin, 800-919-3776. 800-919 ESPN. Let us return to the phones. Mike is in Hawthorne. He is next. 98.7 ESPN. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, good evening. Great bumper music there, too. The home of Don LaGreca, as a matter of fact, Hawthorne, New Jersey.
There you go.
Just wanted to say, Craig, I hear what you're saying but you know what? You got a kid who was, a top draft pick, and you're a team that we were expecting to handle, we being not the right phrase, the Giants were expecting to handle. And if the kid didn't play and McCoy comes out here and lays an egg, he would have got absolutely roasted for not trying. So, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I'm a coach. I've coached college. I've coached high school for many, many years. And you got to trust your guy. But I think they should have made a reevaluation at halftime and say, listen, man, you're not, to your point, he's not moving out of the pocket. He's not sliding. He's not getting outside the C gap at all. He's not helping anything going on. And they should have pulled him at halftime. But I don't blame him one bit for trying. What do you think?
Yeah, but there's a difference, though. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, he's got to be honest with the staff. But when you do that, if you're trying to help, there is a huge difference there between trying to help your team and understanding that you're hurting your team.
No, I know 100%. But they gave him 2 full days of practice. They felt that they were going to give him a shot. I put this, and again, I think the coach is doing a great job. I really do. I think that they've turned the corner. They're going in the right direction without a question.
Yeah, I'm saying it as a whole. He had a bad day yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not saying had a bad day, but didn't have a bad day. But the coaches at halftime should have made an evaluation and said, you know what, kid, sit down. We're going to put McCoy back in, and we're going to see what we got. That's my opinion. That's what I think they should have done. And again, thanks for what you do, and appreciate the show, and good luck to you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you, Mike, for checking in. Look, when you do that, when you position it that way, I get it, and it was not Joe Judge's best day. He should have gotten him out much earlier. I mean, he admitted to Shin Spake that they even talked about pulling him for performance reasons, not even the injury. That's why, I can't separate these two right now. How did you expect it to go if that's exactly what you saw last week? I mean, you saw this in practice. You saw what you expected to see in the game, and you were okay with that. In case you missed it, this is what he said earlier today.
I'd say the way he moved in the game is what we expected. We put him through enough in practice last week to make sure he was put in a position where he could protect himself. We knew that there were things that were going to come up in the game and some limitations that he was going to have throughout the game. We're willing to live with those. But in terms of the question, do we feel like he moved the same, in practice as did in the game? I'd say the answer to that is yes, Ryan. What we expected to see, we pretty much saw.
I mean, that to me is an indictment right there of the decision. And then not getting him out earlier. I mean, it's clear to everybody that he can't move around very well because normally that's what he does. He extends plays. But it's clear in that situation that he was not doing that. And he was not even trying to. He was, you're talking about being able to protect yourself, like he was overthinking that in that situation by a lot, overthinking that. And then let's get to Andrew Thomas for a minute. I mean, look, I know that we have seen some good. I know that last week I think he graded out as like the top rookie overall among all offensive rookies. That's fine. The problem is he was awful yesterday, just dreadful, and getting beaten like a drum. I mean, did he have to drive Hassan Reddick to the airport too, as poorly as he played, especially later in that game? It was just inexcusable, that level of play. And we are now in what, week 14? Like, you have to be better than that in week 14. You're supposed to progress and get better and better, and he had. And yesterday was a major setback for Andrew Thomas. Major setback. I mean, that was disturbing. That's a word I would use. That was a disturbing type performance. The only time I've ever seen a performance like that for a player with Reddick, like Reddick, was O.C. Umenyiora when he had 6 sacks against the Eagles, when they had nobody on their offensive line. A Sunday night game. And I think it was 2006, something like that. He had 6 sacks against him at the Meadowlands. Point is, you cannot be a turnstile like that. And he let him kept him in the game. As much as they've rotated some offensive linemen, didn't rotate him out of there and move Pert into left tackle and, Cam Fleming at right. 800-919-3776. Open lines. We'll get to some baseball here shortly when we discuss the Mets' new general manager and what is very clear right out of the gate. That's coming up next. Carlin, 98.7 ESPN.
If I learned one thing...
You're down, Chris. You have another live read here.
She'll humble you. You think you've got it figured out, you check the standings, and you're in last place again. I'm Eric Rubino, fantasy...
Let me know if you're ready or if you need more time.
No, I'm
in
good.
position to win.
All right, it's coming in 15.
I can't play the games, people. At least Progressive's Name Your Price tool has options based on my budget. It never lets me down, unlike my pitching staff. Amateurs!
Get options based on your budget with Progressive, even if you're not a legend in your own mind. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
All right, listen, you know the deal here, right? You should. Because when you're in search of a gift this holiday season, there is simply nowhere better to look than the Johnny Walker portfolio of whiskeys. Personalize a bottle of Johnny Walker now with their custom engraving. I've actually done this before. And let me tell you something. This goes over big as a gift. Goes over big. Stop by Stu Leonard's Wine and Spirits in Carl Place or KH&H Liquors in Long Island City to purchase a bottle of Johnny Walker and receive complimentary customized engraving. Please drink responsibly. Johnny Walker Blended Scotch Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, imported by Diageo, Norwalk, Connecticut, must be 21 or older.
At Josh Prey created this unsolicited...
You're down, Chris.
...for Popeyes, and we're feeling blessed.
All right. What's up with my people on the stream tonight?
Tell me what you want to eat. I want my sandwich that start with a P.
At Josh Prey from Orlando, Florida on August 19th at 8:59 p.m.
What's he going to say? I feel like dog crap, take me out. No, I understand that, but in the NFL, and really in professional sports, period, there is the thought, Matthew, that you know when you're not helping your team.
That's the holiday spirit.
And that's what the issue was there.
Security is having a huge holiday sale. Right now, you can get 35% off the new system and a free camera at simplysafe.com.
I need a big night. How about Rutgers
off. The System
basketball?
US News named the best of 2020. SimpliSafe protects your whole home 24/7.
Rolling through Maryland tonight by 14 on the road.
SimpliSafe.com/holiday for 35% off and a free camera today.
Hey, it's Michael K. Tune in for my show Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. presented by
Get Pikes
Geico.
on this
15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today. See how much you could save.
New Yorkers have come together to fight COVID-19. What's next? To keep reducing the spread, we all need to get tested for COVID-19 often, even if we have no symptoms. Why get tested often? Because regular testing can identify infection sooner and help prevent spreading the virus to family, friends, neighbors, and coworkers. Testing is safe, confidential, and at no cost to you. To find a testing site near you, visit nyc.gov/COVID-test or call the NYC Test and Trace Corps hotline at 212-COVID-19. Get tested today.
Listen up. Security Dodge in Amityville is Long Island's Ram and Wrangler headquarters, and now the big Finish sales event is on. Take advantage of their no money down, lowest lease deals around by getting out of your lease up to 6 months early. Right now, Security Dodge has employee pricing discounts loaded in on securitydodge.com. Log on to see the best deals available on most new 2020 and 2021 Jeep and Ram vehicles. Plus, 0% for 72 months available on most of their lineup. 90-day payment deferral. If you're shopping, Security Dodge in Amityville is the place to go. Why go someplace else for a good deal when you can go to Security Dodge and get the best deal? Over 2,000 cars, trucks, and SUVs in stock and ready to go. There's no doubt why Security Dodge is Suffolk County's largest Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram dealer. Security Dodge is the largest dealer in Suffolk County, the largest CPO dealer in all of New York, and has the largest inventory in the Northeast. Come get the best deal now. For complete program details, shop 24/7 online at securitydodge.com. And don't forget to tell them Peter Rosenberg sent you.
Dear, it's 1908. Don't you think we should get electricity?
And stop using candles to see at night.
It's just electricity lights up the room fast. It's more reliable than candles blowing out, and people seem to love it nationwide.
Well, candles are.
Dear, did you just run into the wall?
Nope. May I have a new candle, please?
Historically, switching to new technology is a no-brainer. Today, it's AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure, and nationwide. Switch to AT&T 5G. It's not complicated. 5G requires compatible plan. May not be in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Dealing with a dead battery? Head to AutoZone. They offer free battery services like free battery testing and free battery charging. Their free battery testing can help you know if you need a new battery or if you're in need of a fresh charge. And if you do happen to need a replacement, they've got reliable batteries starting at just $79.99. And they're the only place you can find proven tough Duralast batteries. So next time you're having battery trouble, head to AutoZone, your battery solution and America's #1 battery destination.
It's time.
Back in 30, Chris.
Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Assurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Mike's hot.
Yeah, I'm out at Brooklyn. Now I'm down in Tribeca, right next to the Narrow. But I'll be hood forever. I'm the new
Carlin, 98.7 ESPN. Tweet. Check it in. Mike Segroy. Segroy? Why not? Should have kept him out one more week. What was the harm? Leg injuries aren't that easy to get over. An extra week's rest would have benefited Daniel Jones and kept an experienced Colt McCoy at quarterback. Would have benefited the Giants. It's not even that so much. The biggest way it would have benefited the Giants, you keep them out the extra week, and you have the exact same result as you were hoping to avoid. But if you had played McCoy, like, that was the worst that could happen, right? You lose the game, Washington wins, and as a result, you're a game behind. Now remember, if you're tied with them, you own the tiebreaker. So it's not like you're dead here. But it's not a great situation when they have the schedule that they do, even though they have the Seahawks this week. But if you have a Daniel Jones playing this week who's a statue again, with Myles Garrett chasing him down, good luck with that. I mean, that's not good. Another tweet coming in from our buddy Jarv. There's a big difference between playing hurt or being injured. Hurt means there's pain management, but you can do all the things you normally can on the field. If you can't do the things that make you effective, like run, you're injured and shouldn't play. Exactly, Jarv. That's why Jones was wrong in all of this. He was absolutely wrong in all of this. John Pacini makes a good point over on the live stream where you can comment. We'll put him up and talk about him. He says, I think Judge would have taken Jones out earlier, but the long completion to Tate and subsequent touchdown might have changed his mind. Fair point. I would actually argue that he should have known by halftime, though. And that was early third quarter. He should have known by halftime that Jones clearly did not have it, or mid-third quarter, and couldn't move around. And yeah, he was able to make that throw, but no. I mean, that was a decision that should have been made earlier. If he was on the fence about it the entire time, you're right. That kept him from going over the fence. Huey in St. Louis next. Huey, what's up, baby?
Hey, Carlin, how are you, buddy?
Huey, I'm outstanding. What do you got?
Hey, so the whole Giant game yesterday, so I noticed Jones when he ran on the field the first time for that first series at the beginning of the game, he was slumping then too. Mm-hmm. And if you look really close, I said to my son, there's something wrong. You can tell right away. I didn't think he looked healthy the whole game. I'm not sure what the point was of playing him yesterday. And, I think you could have put McCoy out there and just tried to have him manage a game and run the ball, 20, 30 times and see what you could get out of it. I'm really – it's my first criticism of Judge so far this year is he should have known his play a little bit better.
I agree. I think Judge had his worst week with that decision. He should have known better, and he should have gotten him out of the game. And then when you're making some play calls like they did, you got to get in somebody's ear and change that up.
I've heard people be critical of the defense today, but the offense put the defense in some really tough situations.
I'm not going to –
was horrific.
Listen, I'm not hammering the defense at all. Look at it this way. For instance, that first initial sack fumble that sets you up against your, in the shadow of your goalpost. Right there, Huey, they come up with the stop, but the turnover itself ended up leaving the points because of field position. Exactly.
Right. Now,
I can't pin it all on the defense. I can't pin a lot of it on the defense, frankly. The defense has been the biggest reason why they have been back in it this year.
Well, I didn't realize that they had the second least amount of points in the league next to the Jets. I didn't realize that until I saw that stat today, and that speaks volumes about the offense, the scoring potential with the offense right now. But the other thing I was really disappointed was the play of the offensive line, especially Thomas, because he had played very well. They graded high the last 2 weeks, and he was a sieve yesterday.
He was absolutely dreadful, and it was as bad as could be. I mean, and it was so encouraging there for a few weeks. It really was that he had figured it out.
Today he was ranked 122nd out of 124 graded linemen for yesterday's game.
I'm shocked it was that high.
Pretty pathetic. Yeah, exactly. It was tough to take. So let me ask you this: when you go into this week, assuming McCoy plays, I think you have to just try to. And again, I know Cleveland's got a good front, but you're gonna have to run the ball. I mean, that's you're going to it's going to be another game where you get to try to manage it and let the defense try to win it for you. And as well as the Browns are playing, Baker Mayfield doesn't scare me in a big game. He just doesn't. And I'm looking at the schedule, Chris, and I agree with what you're saying here. It wasn't a gimme that the Giants were going to get into the playoffs here, even prior to, and the Washington-Pittsburgh game's the killer right now because I had that as a loss for Washington. That may be the difference in the season. But at the same time, you could get to this game Sunday night, and they could have an opportunity to be back in first place again. Because I do believe Seattle's going to give Washington a heck of a game. I'd be surprised if Washington wins, especially if Haskins is playing.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win the game. And thanks for the call, Huey. I think they're with Haskins especially, and that's one where so far I have not been right on that one. And I'm disappointed that that's been the case. I thought Haskins is going to be much better than this. But he didn't look awful when he got in the game yesterday, but he didn't look good. He's got to be a lot better this week if Alex Smith can't play. And it's the same leg, I think, for Alex Smith. I'm not putting him in any sort of jeopardy by running him out there if I'm Washington. Now, I'll say this for the Giants this coming week, okay? As much as we're looking at how great Cleveland is playing overall, at the very least, could Cleveland be in a position where they're actually looking at that as a trap game? I mean, let's argue for a second that the Browns go out tonight and they win this game, even though they just missed a chip shot field goal, right? And the Giants are coming off of a bad loss. Now, it's not a trap game in the traditional sense of, you're playing a good opponent and you're looking forward and you're just coming off a big win the week before, because the week after they play the Giants, they play the Jets. But you do, even though you're in prime time, you are playing a team that you feel like is not nearly as good as you. The prime time factor may take that away because it got flexed in. But why did it get flexed in? It got flexed in primarily because the Giants won last week. And because Cleveland has been as good as they have been, and because Baker Mayfield's a story, Cleveland probably thinks it got flexed in mostly because of them. Well, it got flexed in mostly because of the market size and the Giants actually being interesting this week. I would look at that if I were Cleveland. And I would make sure that I'm not treating it as a trap game, considering how poorly the Giants played and how bad Jones looked, especially if Jones is out there. Because I could see that happening. I could see that happening. I don't think they will. But if they win tonight, and they win in convincing fashion over Baltimore, don't be shocked if they're flying a little too high next week. That's definitely possible. 800-919-3776, 800-919-ESPN. I get a couple of other thoughts coming. Like we said, we're going to discuss the situation with the Mets' new GM. We're going to discuss the situation which appears to be deteriorating a bit with DJ LeMahieu and the Yankees. There were a couple of more tweets that I wanted to get to. Mark, our buddy, checking in caps, as usual. The Giants are terrible. Cleveland in a rout. Washington wins. Haskins plays well. All right, settle down. And then there was one other one I also wanted to point out, too. Not sure why Judge had no regrets about starting him and keeping him in the game. That was Craig Antman over on Twitter. I wish I knew, too, because I think that's a classic case of a coach in his first year not wanting to admit the mistake, not wanting to show any vulnerability there. And I never have a problem with that. If a coach admits a mistake in that kind of situation, like, hey, I should have gotten him out of there sooner, to me, that's admirable. It's another thing when you're admitting other things, like you don't have a handle for your team or anything like that. It's one thing, though, when you come out and say, listen, Daniel was clearly hampered. I should have gotten him out of there sooner tonight. It's clear that's something that he should have done. 800-919-3776. Yankees and DJ LeMahieu falling apart? They are significantly apart right now. We'll discuss that. And Jared Porter introduced his Mets' new GM. What we took out of that little news conference earlier. Next.
Guys, wanted.
Your dad.